I'll tell you this story about, I was a little girl who always dreamt of becoming an actor, and I'm quite used to confusing things. So I confused actor with star. And I had read tomes of magazines, and these magazines had glossy pictures of houses of actors, I assumed actors, draped over hillsides with horses and ranches and forests as part of them. And they had pool tables, they had pools, villas with pools. And that's what I assumed an actor's life would be like. And I came to Bombay, and imagine my shock. They were little holes in walls. They were one room apartments with 4, 5, 6, 7 people cramped together. They were PGs, they were sublets upon sublets, and I was looking for my own home in all of this. I pounded the streets of this very area, Khar, Bandra, looking for something. I just couldn't find anything. And then suddenly I found it. I found this glorious room. It was a large, airy, spacious room with a big balcony that overlooked the ocean. I was delighted. Unfortunately, it came with a landlady. And she was a grouchy, cranky, highly suspicious lady. And she had her term sheet for her PGs. So no coming after 9 o'clock, no meals, and there is no way that you can be part of the entertainment business. And she looked at me, "Tu film aaj te nahi kam karna chahndi?" And I saw my head, out of body experience, go this way. And it came out of my mouth that I'm a model. So she said, "Oh, te koi gal nahi. Company de log ki badi change hunde ne." So I was like, okay. She had one other condition. I had to buy vegetables twice a week from Khar station for her. So being a Sardarni, I had my own term sheet. I brought that out. I said, okay, if I'm buying vegetables for you, you're going to have to make me lunch. No entering my room, which is her room, but my room now, without my permission. And please take down all messages of all calls that come for me. Because as an actor, the landline at that time, which is now the cell phone, is your landline is your lifeline. Because, you know, the hard work that you've put in, spreading your pictures to everybody, telling everyone, cast me, cast me, cast me. Now all those phones ring. So, and we agreed. Everything was happy. Our contract was signed. We were done and dusted. Everything was fine. My life was really good. People said, "Oh, you're so lucky. That's such a beautiful room," etc., etc. Kohli auntie is a very peculiar person. She was very, very suspicious, as I mentioned earlier, and the reason for her suspicion was probably not unfounded. Her only son had forged the property papers after her husband died and made away with all the property, leaving just this one apartment in her name, and moved to Pune with his new wife. Also, she had extremely bad luck with PGs. Her paying guests had turned out one worse than the other. Her previous PG also turned out to be an acting aspirant, and she had called males to Kohli auntie's apartment in her absence. So she had thrown her out. And so in my absence, Kohli auntie would go through my stuff. And I don't know what she was expecting to find. Narcotics, gold bars, porn. I don't know what she was expecting to find, but I let it be. I didn't make a big deal of it because, it's okay. Everything else was working out fine. There were a few other things, but I let it go. And then one day I came back home. And it was 9:10, and I was like, 10 minutes, nobody cares, it's Bombay. I knocked on the door, I rang the doorbell. I could hear the television inside, the door was not opening. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. So then I pulled out my key, which was our rule between me and her, that pull out the key only if you really need to. So I pulled out the key, I opened the door, but there was a door chain in place. And I could hear her talking on the phone. I was like, oh my God, thank God she's all right. Maybe she was in the loo, whatever. I rang the bell, I knocked on the door, I screamed out to her, she wouldn't open the door. And I was exhausted, I'd had a hectic day. So I sat down on the steps after some time, and I woke up the next morning to her screaming at me, "Tu film aaj kam karna chahndi hai, tenu main nahi rakhna, tu ki samajhdi hai, tu us tarah di kudi hai, tenu hoya ki hai, tu mainu dasya kyun nahi?" The neighbors came out with saucepans and umbrellas, thinking she was being burgled. So what had happened was, Kohli auntie's social life consisted of going to the Khar Gurdwara. She was part of the Khar Gurdwara Ladies Path Association. And now these old witches, All of them had PGs or tenants or people staying with them for reasons of old age, loneliness, infirmity, whatever. They knew every girl. They swapped people. Someone increased the rent, someone reduced the rent. They made the girls go round and round amongst them. They knew who drank, who smoked, who had a boyfriend, who had broken up, who double dated, who was paying what to which broker. They knew every single thing, each one. So one of the ladies, one of her cronies, the nephew was a director and I'd auditioned for that director. So she लगाउड her मिर्ची मसाला नींबू and said तो बड़ी हॉट फिल्म है उसमें उसने ऑडिशन किया है वो तो फिल्मों में काम करना चाहती तुझे तो पता नहीं है and that's why Kohli auntie created this whole ruckus. From then on our 2 BHK turned into Afghanistan, always in conflict. So she refused to give me my messages. I refused to get her vegetables, she refused to cook me food. She slammed the door on my face, I slammed it even harder. And we had both our Sardarni noses in air, no one talking to each other in a 2 BHK. And can you imagine all the hard work I'd put in into spreading 6404851 to every single casting person, producer, director, anyone I knew had my number so that they could call me. And I could hear the phone ringing and I say, "Aithe nahi hai," and slamming the phone down. I was in misery and I could just see dreams of stardom fading away. I could see myself turning 60, going to the Khar Gurdwara Ladies Association for my social life, getting vegetables from Khar station and watching bad television at loud volume. That's what I could see my life turning into. I could see villas with pools fading away. I now know that villas with pools don't come to actors. They come to you if you marry an industrialist. Or you become an industrialist, whichever. I decided I was going to move out. There's no way that this situation could have continued. I couldn't have continued pursuing my dreams. And then fates intervened. Kohli auntie fell sick. She fell very, very sick. And I had to rush back from shoot and I came back to find her at Chimbai Medical Center with many tubes going in and out of her. And she looked small and frail and shrunken. Everything that was high about her had suddenly become low and quiet. So I called her fraudster son in Pune and tried to get in touch, but he was completely unavailable all the time. And so it was left to me to manage between college and my auditions and shoots and everything to get her BP down, to get her blood sugar regularized, to do whatever I could. I did my best. But she somehow didn't want to live. It seemed like she'd given up the will. She'd just slowly fading away. I think the pain of your only child abandoning you perhaps does that to you. And then in desperation, I went to the Khar Gurdwara and I bumped into the old witches there. And they had a genius plan. I virtually ran from the Khar Gurdwara to Chimbai Medical Center and I told her, "Auntie, the Path Association ladies are going to Amritsar to the Golden Temple next week." She said, "Main bhi jana hai." Her eyes got a fresh spark. I said, "Par aapki to tabiyat theek nahi hai." She said, "Agle hafte tak main theek ho jana hai." And sure enough, she called me a few days later from Amritsar. And she said, "Sunday nu main kar aa rahi haan, tu kar hi rahi." So I was like, okay, whatever, she's back. And on Sunday, I'm leaning over my balcony and suddenly in our quiet lane, 2 very posh cars arrive. And out of one car comes out a reasonably well-known producer. And out of the other one comes out the director. And from the back seat comes out Kohli auntie. And they walk up this whole parade. And the director presents me with my first check for a feature film. So apparently, Kohli auntie, after going to the Golden Temple and taking her dip in the sarovar there and having the Kada Prasad, called up the director and told him, "Badi changi kudi hai, ennu sign karo tusi." But there was a rider. She said, "8 baje de baad shooting nahi kar sakti hai." I think I should have hired Kohli auntie as my manager because I've never been able to negotiate an early call time ever since. So that was my first home.
To like, subscribe and follow us, just press some of these buttons. I don't know why people keep pointing. You are educated and you can read. So just read it and do the needful. Please, we're a startup, we need your love.